I ask a question? Just to follow up on the K factor.
Yeah.
Do you measure the K factor over time, or is that over the lifetime of the app?
That's something that it's based essentially. We calculate it on a rolling basis, so it's something that is over time and it evolves. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned if you should be looking at analytics before building an app. In our case, and I think some of my peers' tools, you actually have an advantage by building it in first and instrumenting right from the get-go. You actually would save time. And in fact, building a viral application is very different than building a traditional application from our viewpoint, in that you should be spending, if you're budgeting for a customer or a brand or an advertiser, you really should be budgeting at least a quarter, if not half your budget, post-launch to do tweaks and analysis. If you're not doing that, you're probably not going to be able to create your viral loop. So analytics is key, because without that data that's coming from the analytics tool, you're just not going to hit that viral loop or that K factor you're looking for.
And we expand that for a minute. So when you're building the app, what do you have to build in or kind of consider to make sure you're baking in analytics from the get-go, rather than kind of bringing it afterwards? Are there any tips, tricks you have there?
Specific into our application and our technology, we actually give you tools to build on top of. So if you build on top of our platform, right out of the gates, you'll get analytics from top to bottom. And there are other things that I think my peers here do that would probably make sense for you to get involved in it first. So again, my overarching philosophy is, if you're not data driven from day one, you're probably not going to achieve your goals.
And then Matt, I'm going to kind of go down the flow here. So, cool, I build an app. I need to get people aware. I need to drive them to the app. What are the things you want to measure there, and how do you want to measure those things, and what are the key success factors when you're acquiring traffic, whether it's through paid or through some type of organic traffic?
That the launch of the app, if you take a look at the trajectory of growth for applications, especially building a viral app, they grow fairly quickly. And if you take a look at how the app is growing, I like to use the 80-20 rule in this case. 20% of your users, who are the most active, engaged users in the application, tend to be responsible for a lot of that growth. Probably even less, frankly, like 90-10. And so baking in the analytics early on is really, really critical. And to further frame the discussion a bit too, I like to start off discussions like this by citing actually Andrew Monfried from Lottie Solutions in terms of why you need to really what are the new social media analytics here? And it's the idea is there's new verbs being introduced to the equation. That's how he puts it. And from rating, inviting, sharing, viewing, etc. And so you want to be able to track your users within the application early on and see how they're doing just that, right? How are they sharing via invites? So not to get back to your question is specifically within the Facebook universe, the viral pathways you're looking at are newsfeed channels, right? How and who is pushing news and to the newsfeed, causing acquisitions via the newsfeed. Invites, of course. You have notifications, even emails to a degree. So each one of these have to be tracked, and again, baking them early on into the launch of your application. These type of metrics analytics will ensure quicker, potentially viral growth if that's what you're aiming for.
Brand new seed users coming in. Organic users are users that are essentially invited into the application by some of these viral channels. And by tracking the difference between the organic seeding rate versus the seeding rate, you get a good sense of, well, are people who have are people coming back? How well are these channels doing? And in relation to the demographic information and as well as the topic of the application, we have done case studies internally where we've taken the same identical application, seeded it from 2 different sources, and one of them, grew tremendously over the time in a week, from 0 to a few thousand daily actives in a week span, and the other one, grew to just a few hundred. So that just goes to show, and this has been replicated numerous times, so this just goes to show that both the demographic and the topic matter have to really resonate with the audience that you're reaching.
Question, so on seed traffic, what's the right right amount of C traffic to generate? And specifically putting that in the context of, should I wait for 500 people to install, see what they do, adjust content? Should I do that at 250, right? What's the right amount of C traffic I should, get to go through each iteration of content changes?
Right. I think from the studies that we've really taken a look at, it's really, when we seed an application, we do this on a real-time basis, looking at the organic and the seeding rates. So we make sure that, once we've seeded an app, that those users are inviting friends, and those friends are actually adding the application and using it in some meaningful way. And those friends that were invited are inviting more of their friends, and it grows like that. And you can tell very quickly. I mean, one of the benefits of the social network is that distribution channels essentially have been in some ways commoditized. So there is no, compared to traditional media, you shouldn't spend or need that much money to really acquire a lot of traffic very quickly. So if things, if you've studied your application and done all the other elements, to the best of your ability, you should tell very quickly whether or not an app will be able or have the potential to grow. And that's kind of what we use internally.
And open to the panel, any specific numbers in terms of, so I'm creating an app, let's say I'm buying some traffic. Should I wait for 250 installs, 500 installs? What's the right amount before I can kind of start making decisioning around, geez, this is or isn't working?
So the really cool thing about social applications is that if they're designed right, they can be viral, you can be very capital efficient and traffic efficient. You can get your users generate more users. And one of the things that we put a lot of time in is modeling out how do you.
And the only thing I'll add to that is if you're going to buy traffic, just make sure it is incremental in the sense that you buy a certain amount of installs and you use that period of a week to 2 weeks to really analyze how your application is growing and inform future purchases of traffic. I mean, I think that's kind of the model you want to have in doing a campaign like that. And I think the to kind of reiterate a point is all users are not created equal. Once again, right? The idea here is that when you have interaction being introduced into the equation, you can measure the users that are responsible for most of the interaction, and those are the channels you want to use. Those are the users you want to target to grow the app. So to follow up on an earlier point, I think we take a look at demographics, the static kind of part of the analytics, which is just there, it's not interactive. I think that's most valuable when you kind of use that as a filter to better target how you want to grow the app. So what do I mean? I mean, perhaps you're a gaming application and you're looking to grow your application by targeting users who are A, interested in gaming, and B, users with friends who are interested in gaming. So that brings in a whole other side of the equation, which revolves around studying the graph part.